bayonet combat in the 18th century was a little different than it is in modern times. We want to talk about that a little bit. Uh-oh. Are we in? Are we good? All right. In the modern military, they'll give you your service weapon and a bayonet, and they'll teach you how to fight like you're in a bar fight. It's 1 on 3, it's 3 on 1, 2 on 2, you don't know. That is because of the formation that modern militaries use. If you pick up like a Ranger manual from the Vietnam War or something like that, just reading through it, you'll see X's and O's like a football formation. Modern militaries fight in a formation. It's just different than the formation they fought in the 18th century. Hey guys, can I get a couple soldiers over here with me? So because of that formation, if you're going to get into hand-to-hand combat, it's going to be like a bar fight. It's going to be 1 on 2, 2 on 2, 1 on 3. You don't know. So gentlemen, could I have you line up right here, right in line with me? So in the 18th century, I need some guys to my left too, please. In the 18th century, the way to win battles was to fight in linear formation. So as you can see, if I want to smash somebody with the head of my musket, it's going to be difficult. So when you see in movies, first of all, when they fight, they're never in formation. And whenever they do moves like this, it is very cool, but it's not necessarily realistic to what you would see in a pitched battle. Thank you, gentlemen. In a pitched battle, since you are in a formation, they viewed it as fencing. So they actually called it bayonet fencing. So you can move forward and you can move backwards. So everything we're about to go through is things that evolved from fencing and the terminology evolved from fencing, the actual practical application evolved from pike formations. So, the first, I want to go through 3 things real quick, and then we'll get to the fun part. The first is what they call lines of force, the second is your fort, and the third would be your stance. So, the first, I need a volunteer. Sir, come on up.
Me?
The young lad. Sorry, what's your name, bud?
I'm Ryan.
Ryan, Tom. Nice to meet you. All right. Do you think I could push you over?
Probably.
All right, let's try. I want you to put your arm up and push me. I want you to push me over, okay? All right, push. All right. And I want you to do that same thing again, but I'm going to move, okay? You same thing, okay? Push. Push me. Push me all the way over. Yeah. There's no way I could push him. Your body has lines of force coming out of it. Today we call it body mechanics or biomechanics. Your power is in front of your body. You are strong in front, you are weak behind. Okay? That is the very first principle in bayonet fighting and fencing. So this move right here is a very powerful move because it's all the force in front of your body, but you can't do it. So if you parry, and I was to parry to my left, I'm parrying away, I'm parrying behind. If I parry to my right, I'm parrying in front of my body. So the first element is how you parry an enemy attack. So I come in, instead of parrying to the left with my bayonet, I want to parry in front of my body, giving me a mechanical, scientific advantage over my opponent. The second thing, the fort of your weapon. Walt, do you mind stepping up here real quick? Go ahead and take your weapon and come to the on guard position facing me. All right, let's just go ahead and put our bayonets together, and I want you to push me that way and I'll push you that way. Okay? Go. All right. You can see we're pretty evenly matched. I want you to turn your musket like that. Now, same thing, go. There's no way I can beat him. What he's doing is creating a lever. His weapon is the lever. His hand and his arm are a lever. So his hand and his arm protrude force onto this weapon. The closer he is to his hand, you're push against me. Push against me. Can't do anything. The farther he is away, and this is my lever, push against me. You have power. That is the fort of your weapon. With a sword, it's the same. This is the feeble end of your weapon. This is the fort. You have more power here. So, I do not want to parry his bayonet with mine. Okay, go on guard. I want to parry his bayonet. No, hold it still. With my fort. Then I have control. So first, line of force. I want to parry in my strongest line of force. And if you're left-handed, that gives you even more of an advantage. I also want to parry with the fort of my weapon. Okay? Third principle, your stance. In order to fight your enemy, you can't throw your weapon away. If you come at your enemy and lunge to an extent, now you're done. Everything has to be controlled. Come in, parry in my lines of force, the fort of my weapon, lunge in, or allonge, as they would say it in French, I think, and then come back. So those are the three principles of bayonet fighting that we want to go through today. Before I go on, we'll do a couple quick examples, and then we'll get to the competition. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Bayonets, do they have an alloy so that they bend rather than break?
They did not in the period. So in the period, metallurgy was advanced, but it wasn't necessarily to the point where they were changing alloys to make it. They were instead made in a stronger fashion. So they were made in a triangular shape, which did two functions. One, it gave it tremendous strength, and then two, a knife wound, a cut in your body will naturally close. I mean, the knife wound's still bad, but it will naturally close. This doesn't put a cut, it actually punches a hole. So when you remove this, the hole will not close, and you will bleed considerably more. All right, so I want to go through one maneuver that was very, very common at times. CR, do you mind helping me with this because we don't have our wooden bayonets? There were a number of different parries in which they would go through. The first was a parry in court. So I'd like you to just go ahead and thrust. I'm going to parry and go. So I thrust right into him. As you can tell, that took no movement. Very little movement, just like fencing. I needed math and science on my side. I needed to parry in the correct spot with my correct force and lay right into him. The second is a parry to court, in which he's going to thrust at me and I'm going to block and then counterattack. So now he's in a situation, except you didn't lunge, you just walked. There you go. Now he's in a situation where his dangerous end is past me and mine is in the air. So the only thing he can do is fall back and I can come down with the slice. So those were two very, very consistent manners of fighting. Perfect timing, Mr. Bryan. You have a moment. The last thing I'd like to show, and this is actually the most, probably the coolest aspect, was cavalry. So cavalry ruled the battlefield while they still had armor. As muskets evolved, they had to change their purpose. But the thing that still could stop cavalry were pikes. Pikes always stopped cavalry. So we have a way in which to combat cavalry with our muskets and bayonets. So I'll take my bayonet off because I don't want to have any accidents. How you doing, buddy? Can I come up? Yeah, there's a good girl. All right. Brian, do you feel comfortable drawing your saber? Okay. So the first thing you notice is he's on a horse, which makes him extra cool and fast. I cannot outrun him. So I have to somehow defeat him, or at least have him not defeat me without running away. He has a longer sword, but if you notice, he's elevated. So, in order for him to strike me, he actually has to strike down. Okay? So you can imagine, if he's striking down, and I want to strike across, what we have is a right triangle. So A squared, B squared, C squared. Math and science again. So his most reach is when I'm to his side, and he can extend his arm. So, can we try that for a second, Brian? All right, so if you want to extend your sword and come straight to my head, so I am just out of his reach. But if I bring up my musket, he's within my reach. So I have a scientific advantage due to geometry. So what I need to do, two things. to beat him is we need to maintain our formation and not run away. You cannot do this while running away. And 2, we have to bring our musket up, and he comes down onto the barrel, and now I can control his weapon. Thank you, sir. All right. Now what everybody's been waiting for, questions. Do you have any questions before we move on to the competition? Awesome. I like it when you guys don't have questions. So, the competition is designed to focus and reward people for the attributes I just talked about. So 1, staying in formation. 2, correct parrying in the correct direction and the correct position of your musket. And then 3, the correct footwork for your lunge and then the accuracy of your lunge. So, if everybody would like to hear, I'll just go through the scoring and the rules, and then we can have a brief 15-minute intermission where guys can practice, and then we'll go at it. So, all 4 of you will line up back here. Give the command to, charge your bayonets, however you guys decide to do it, and then move forward. From that time, you are being judged. You're being judged on your togetherness. So if you look like one individual the whole time, you get maximum points for your unity, okay? That is the group thing. Everybody else will individually be scored on the others. So as you come forward, what we'd like to see is a block in your force direction, not this. We'd like to see a block like this on the fore of your musket, so somewhere in here, not the bayonet, okay? This gets you 1 point. If you do a flourish and knock the cup off, you get 2 points. Then lunge. It is important to maintain your body. If you drag your foot because you started too far, if you were to miss, now you're dead. What is important is you maintain position. So this will get you 1 point. If you hit the card, you get an additional point. So once again, the 4 men will give the command, they will march, they will be judged on their togetherness. Drop down, parry, barrel in the fore of your musket, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. Oh, I missed the card, it's still only 1 point. All right, does anybody have any questions about the rules? All right, then if I could have everybody who'd like to compete, Greg has the sign-up sheets. We'll take a 15-minute intermission. Come on up. We'll take turns running through with practices, and then we'll give it a go.
Line up and see if we can't get one of them.
That's fine.